Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a couple of different things. A statistical comparison of Celtic's 5 main central defenders, and also a wee look at what I would consider to be Celtic's best starting 11 from now to the end of the season, with a couple of wee caveats regarding players returning from injury. As things stand, Celtic should have their full squad available from around about 2 or 3 weeks from now, so around about mid-March. So that would give those players, in essence, 2 months to win the league and cup double. As always, delighted to see your own thoughts regarding that, regarding other Celtic issues at the moment, and also your reaction to the statistical comparison of Celtic's 5 main central defenders. Haven't included in that Nat Phillips, who of course was on loan to us for the first half of the 23-24 season, and for me was absolutely awful and a complete waste of time. And it would have been far better for Celtic had he not bothered coming, as in essence he took away viable playing time from Lagerbielka and Nawrocki at different times during that spell. Haven't included Yuki Kobayashi, who has been frozen out, hasn't played for Celtic at all this season, has been in one match-day squad. He had yet another loan deal, this time to HJK Helsinki. That fell through. It does look like he may well be off on loan to one of the Major League Soccer teams. Their transfer window closes and opens at different times from the Scottish window. And so, although it is out of our transfer window, he can move during the American transfer window if he's going to an American club, which is kind of similar to what happened with Giakoumakis previously. So, just a wee bit of explanation for the comparison of the 5 central defenders. I took a combination of ratings from different sources, primarily SofaScore and a couple of other stat sites that combine player stats. We've looked at the league fixtures, and these stats are all averaged over per game, and so although some players have played more, some players have played less, all these stats are how they fared per game on average over that time. And at the end of that, what I then did was took a combination of all the stats, with if a player was first in that category, i.e. best, they got 5 points, 4 for second place, 3 for third place, 2 for fourth place, and 1 for fifth place, and then did a combination of adding up all those points to get a combined rating at the end. And I personally found the end result a little bit interesting, but we'll come to that in the analysis section. So just going to play a wee graphics video that shows all the various different stats that I looked at. These are all pretty bog standard, typical stats used to analyse a defender's performance. I fully accept this is not the whole score, the whole matter, and that some of these are a wee bit nuanced, but I did think it was a good starting position to compare our 5 main central defenders: CCV, Scales, Nawrocki, Lagerbielka and Welsh. So just going to pop in that wee stats video, and then we'll have a chat regarding that, and then go on to have a chat about what I think is Celtic's best starting 11 from now to the end of the season, with a couple of wee asterisks for players coming back from injury. So I found the stats really quite interesting. Was actually quite surprised that the best rated central defender over that whole analysis was Gustav Lagerbielke, closely followed by Liam Scales, and closely followed by CCV, all within 4 points of each other, and then quite a bit of a gap to Nawrocki at 24 points accumulated, and Stephen Welsh 21 points accumulated, which also maybe also magnifies why there are quite a lot of Celtic defenders who are quite confused, bemused, mystified as to why Lagerbielke has been completely frozen out, and Stephen Welsh, in essence, has been second choice along with Scales when CCV has been out injured. Nawrocki came back from injury, and kind of Nawrocki and Welsh have alternated being the starting choice with the other on the bench, and Scales being the regular starter all season after the first couple of games, and CCV has been kind of in and out the side with a couple of fairly lengthy injury breaks, and his most recent one is hoped to be all over by the Motherwell game at the weekend, and I would fully expect that he'll be in the starting 11 alongside Scales at that time. So, other interesting things I thought was Liam Scales does seem particularly prone to giving away possession. That would be misplaced passes, balls going out of play that are designed for teammates, balls going to defenders rather than going not going to the defender and instead going to one of the opposition. CCV, Nawrocki, and Welsh all fairly safe in terms of distribution. Really quite surprised also that Celtic are relatively poor in terms of winning aerial duels, with CCV the best at 71%, Nawrocki down at 45%, which is pretty atrocious, I think, for a centre defender. And then Welsh and Scales and Lagerbielke all kind of in the low to mid 60s, which is reasonable. Clearly, Gustav Lagerbielke, very, very good winning duels on the ground. He's number one for winning ground duels, never been dribbled past by an opponent, and best for winning tackles. I think all those are indicative of where Lagerbielke's skills lie. Looking at clearances, all four of Nawrocki, Lagerbielke, Scales, and CCV all have good stats, all in the range of 3 to 4, but Welsh down at 1.5, and also I thought rather chilling, Welsh has yet to win a tackle all season playing central defence, which is pretty awful. I know many people can say you can break up play in other ways, but his interceptions rate was poor, down in fourth out those. As I said, his aerial duels, he was in fourth place, and ground duels won in fifth place at 20% of the time. So he's not making tackles, nor is he winning duels in other ways on the ground, nor is he intercepting the ball. And so I think those are pretty atrocious stats for a player who's been, in essence, along with Nawrocki, Celtic's number 3 central defender in Brendan Rodgers' eyes this season. The match ratings, I think, kind of reflect what I would have expected. Scales being the best at 7.57, CCV 7.26, Lagerbielke 7.1 out of 10, Welsh down in 5th at 6.77, and Nawrocki at 6.96. These stats are the SofaScore match ratings, and look at an average over the games played, are made by expert pundits analysing the games. So it certainly does point, I think, to the fact that Celtic have been vulnerable in the air, and that is very much borne out by balls into the box from corners, long throws, direct free kicks, and the fact that Celtic very often are getting out-muscled in central defence, at ball situations, and in open play. Now, to an extent, the fullbacks also have a role to play in that. In essence, apart from a few games from injury, Alistair Johnston and Greg Taylor have been our 2 fullbacks, and so they've been pretty consistent as starters all season, apart from a few games more recently through injury they've missed. And so those factors kind of even out. And one of the stats that always strikes me was the 4 clean sheets that Scales and Lagerbielke put together as central defenders prior to CCV coming back from injury. And that certainly is Celtic's most successful combination in terms of producing clean sheets on average per game. So make that of that what you will. I think it does indicate that Scales has had a really good season. CCV possibly, if you factor in the fact he's been in and out the side with injury, recovering from injury, that may be explaining why his stats are a wee bit lower than expected. It certainly does suggest that Celtic's number 3 defender is Gustav Lagerbielke, although he is a very distant 5th in Brendan Rodgers' mind, which I think is rather tragic and maybe a factor in Celtic's poor defensive performances and inconsistent defensive performances all season. Now, before we crack on with the second part to this video, please do, if you've enjoyed the video, click that like button. As always, feel free to pop your comments if they're polite, constructive, part of a debate discussion regarding this or regarding the best 11 suggestion and other Celtic issues. And if you are new to the channel and have enjoyed this sort of video and you've had a wee look at the other videos and content on the channel, please do click that subscribe button, get those subscriber numbers slowly creeping up and up. In essence, I'm doing this for fun in semi-retirement, not in any way to be making money. It's just simply a chance for me to have a chat to like-minded Celtic fans regarding the great club I've supported for 52 years. However, it would be nice that if we reached the next couple of targets, it does mean the channel can expand, have more features, have greater coverage to other like-minded Celtic fans. And as always, if you have enjoyed the channel and think it's maybe a slightly different way of looking at things, do please pass it on to friends, family, colleagues, other folk who may be interested in an alternative Celtic channel. Now, second part of the video is what I think is Celtic's best 11. A couple of wee caveats and asterisks, because currently we have 3 very important players out injured with physical injuries, and we've also got Lee Labada out with psychological mental health issues related to the situation in his home country. Now, looking at the best 11, I think little doubt that Joe Hart is the best of our 3 goalkeepers. Right back, Alistair Johnston is clearly our best right back. His stats for things like tackles and interceptions and balls won and duels won in the air and on the ground were all very good. I haven't actually popped those into the central defenders comparison because he plays right back, although could equally play at centre back, and there have been times I've wondered about whether Rodgers could even look to put him into central defence on the right side of a 3 or pop him in front of a back 4 as a sort of defensive midfielder. Those are roles he has played from time to time in Canada and in American Soccer League. So something to think about. Central defence, despite what the stats said, probably I would say our best central back combination to the end of the season would be CCV and Liam Scales, and Greg Taylor at left back. Liam Scales may be better option at left back, but he's not played there all season, and Taylor obviously is a million times better than Burnaby. In central midfield, obviously McGregor and O'Reilly. I think for the next week or two, I would go with Paulo Bernardo. He has been a wee bit hot and cold this season, but when he has been hot, in terms of his form, he has been very much worth his place in the side, and he was especially good in the games against Livingston, Dundee, Rangers and St Mirren in the Christmas break, Christmas New Year spell. And I think very few of us would have had any doubts about signing Paulo Bernardo on a permanent deal after those 4 games, but after the winter break his form has kind of dipped. He has missed quite a few very vital chances for Celtic, and had he taken those chances, we would have put away the game against Ross County very early. We would have put away our chances. Had he put away his chances, we would have won more easily against Aberdeen. We would have won against Aberdeen. We would have won against Kilmarnock, and we would have won more easily against Hibs. However, for the next couple of weeks, I would have Paulo Bernardo partnering McGregor and O'Reilly. As soon as Rio Hatate is back fit, I think Hatate has to slot into the midfield. I think those 3 are our best combination. McGregor and Hatate have tons and tons of energy. They can go box to box. They can play in a defensive midfielder role. They can play in central midfielder role. They both can push forward. They can both get themselves into the box. They're both good at shooting from outside the box, and having those 2 in central midfield would allow Matt O'Reilly to get back to doing what he's best this season, which is being in the final third, scoring goals and setting up goals for others. So midfield 3, once Hatate's back from injury, hopefully for the 2 months to the end of the season from mid-March. So Hatate, McGregor and O'Reilly as the midfield 3. Out wide on the right, Dyson Maeda. Out wide on the left, Luis Palma. Luis Palma is third highest scorer for Celtic this season, second most assists for Celtic this season. So Kyogo and Matarali have scored more goals than him, but no one else in the Celtic squad has scored more goals. And only Matarali has created more goals for teammates. And so Luis Palma obviously has to be on the left-hand side. I know his form has been a wee bit in and out again in 2024, but he actually was very consistent once he got into the team after the summer transfer window shut through to the end of 23. So Luis Palma on the left, Dyson Maida on the right. I think Dyson Maida would still shade things over Leal Abada on the right, even if Abada was fully stress-free and mentally fit to play for Celtic. But I think Abada would be, when in his best form, would be a brilliant sub to come off the bench, considerably better than our other option of an experienced wide player, which is Nicholas Kuhn, who has been extremely disappointing since he came to us at the start of 2024. I think Yang deserves a wee bit of leniency given the fact he's young and he has shown some very good signs and flashes of high skill, but has been a wee bit in and out, as could be expected for a young player coming from overseas. James Forrest would be our other option, wide on the right or the left. And I think he's a fine squad backup. I think his best days are behind him, and I think Celtic should be looking to move him into more of a player coach and then coach role over the next 12 months or so. Through the middle, obviously, Kyogo. I think he's the only possible choice for central attack. When he's on form, he is the best striker in Scotland. His best form was last season, where he had an excellent number of goals scored and very, very efficient in terms of taking his chances. Both of those have dipped this season, and I think then that again is one of the critical things for Celtic's inconsistent performances this season. However, we have to remember it was his goal that won the match against Rangers the first time around, and it was his goal in the end that proved to be the winner second time around against Rangers. And when he's at his best, Celtic's at their best. And if we can just get Kyogo back close to his best form, Celtic's going to score lots of goals and be much more efficient taking their chances. And similarly, Matt Riley needs to get back to top form. I think that then would leave us with having potential impact player of Adam Ida coming off the bench. I think he's a good player for mixing things up. He's been really good for scoring penalties for us. And so having Ida and O on the bench, I think would give us a degree of firepower coming off the bench. And once Hitati's back fit, we then got Paul Bernardo also, once he gets back to good form, being an impact player off the bench. So lots of positives. So assuming that Johnson gets back to playing in the next week or so, as is expected, Hitati back into the team by middle of March, and CCV, as I was saying, is expected back into the team at the weekend against Motherwell, a game that will be live on TV, and depending how the Rangers result is the day before, we could be going into that match 5 points down, 3 points down, or still just 2 points down. And so for me, the season is still there. I think Celtic's best 11, when fit and when in form, is the best 11 in Scotland. And so is the 11 that can win the title and win the cup. And also, if we've got our best 11 on the pitch, it then means we do have players who can impact the game coming off the bench. I do also think that the level of quality of player coming off the bench to make an impact has been a factor. I think our quality of sub has been down this season compared to last. However, I also think that Rodgers' ability to use the subs tactically well has been poor. His ability to change tactics, formations, and setups in response to what the other team's doing, or to exploit weaknesses in the other team, has been very poor this season. And I think those are major factors in Celtic's underperformance and inconsistency this season. So that just about finishes things off for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the two topics. As I said, if you are new to the channel and you've enjoyed things, please do click that subscribe button and the like button also for those who've liked the video, and comment section, as always, open for pleasant, polite, constructive debate, discussions and opinions. So for today, thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye and hail, hail.